The Tampa Bay Rays have made another trade, this time offloading Zach Eflin within their division, heading to the Baltimore Orioles as the Orioles look to make a huge postseason push, acquiring a starter that could be a third or fourth starter in the postseason and make a big impact on a potential World Series run for a very young team. Heading back to Tampa Bay will be 3 minor league prospects, suggesting that this is going to be a rebuilding year for the Tampa Bay Rays. A lot of people speculated they could buy and sell, but it's looking like they're fully selling right now as Zach Eflin is heading to their division rivals in exchange for minor leaguers, and they're going to punt 2024 with the hope of competing in 2025 and beyond. The Rays have a knack for developing talent, and with the depth of prospects in the Baltimore Orioles farm system, it's a decent possibility that the Rays are going to be able to turn some of these prospects into big names that can help them out in the Major League club. Of course, this is just the beginning of a huge trade deadline. It's only 4 days away and we're already seeing a lot of moves. So before we begin, it really means a lot if you can subscribe to the channel. You get breakdowns of almost every trade that happens. Of course, the Yimi Garcia trade just happened as well, so that one might be a little bit later, if at all. But you'll get a ton of videos like this about trades, about baseball, and you also get really great videos from other creators similar to me. Without further ado, let's dive into the Zach Eflin trade that just happened, and thank you to Intra-Division for breaking that news. After a dominant 2023, Zach Eflin finds himself on the move in his second year in Tampa Bay after finishing 6th in the Cy Young Award and leading the American League with wins with 16 in 2023. He's now going over to a team looking to contend with a lot of young talent in Baltimore and who could really use some help in the starting rotation. With Grayson Rodriguez and Corbin Burnes at the front line of the rotation come the postseason, Zach Eflin can very easily slot into that 3 or 4 slot in the rotation and really bolster their playoff chances with some good quality innings, which is what any team needs in the postseason. With Kyle Bradish, John Means, and Tyler Wells all out for the 2024 season, they definitely need another starter to complement them in the regular season as well. Again, I've talked about Corbin Burnes and Grayson Rodriguez being at the top of their game, but Dean Kramer and Albert Suarez could be better suited as a 4th, 5th starter. Albert Suarez maybe as someone who can kind of be a long reliever if needed, and Cole Irvin isn't really someone who jumps out of the page as someone you want starting playoff games. And with a lot of young players like Cade Povich, Chase McDermott in the minor leagues, yes, they could provide some valuable innings, but they also are very inexperienced, and you don't want to count on 2 of those to go and get you meaningful playoff innings when you don't know how well they're going to adapt to that pressure of being in the postseason. Eflin provides a lot of postseason experience, making the World Series in 2022 with the Philadelphia Phillies, and as a reputation as a serviceable pitcher who has a lot of potential to be a nice back-end rotation piece. This is a great addition to get some veteran presence and someone who has pitching in the World Series experience to go and help this very young team feel more confident heading into the postseason. He's also had a decently solid 2024. A 4.09 ERA is a little bit inflated. His 3.65 FIP suggests he's gotten a little bit unlucky with balls in play so far in 2024. And a 5-7 record, especially with the Rays hovering around 500, reflects that compared to a 16-8 record in 2023. He has kept his walk rate down a lot, his lowest of his career actually at 2.8%, which is incredible for a starting pitcher, but that has been with a sacrifice of his strikeout rate. It went from 26.5% in 2023 down to 18.9%, his lowest since 2020, so it is a little bit of something that you need to look out for if you're an Orioles fan, that his strikeout rate has gone down this year in his age 30 season, so it's just something to consider that he's not as big of a strikeout pitcher as he was in his past. The biggest thing to note in this deal is Eflin also has another year of control after 2024, meaning he will be with the Orioles in 2025. So if they don't end up winning it all this year, they do have another pitcher they can use in 2025 to go and get them to the promised land and win a World Series ring. Add that on with a bunch of depth in their rotation of people coming back from Tommy John surgery and a lot of really interesting young talent currently playing at AAA, and it's looking like the Orioles have the potential to be a really formidable contender in 2025. Not that they aren't already this year with the best record in the American League, but they're just strengthening their core and making sure that they can go all in and potentially win multiple World Series rings in their competitive window. The Rays end up getting 3 prospects back in this deal, 2 that should be familiar to those who are following the Orioles prospect depths, the first being their 2nd round pick in the 2023 MLB Draft, Mac Horvath, a 3rd baseman out of the University of North Carolina. Horvath was selected 53rd overall and signed for $1.4 million with the promise that he could be a pseudo 5-tool kind of player. He provides slightly above average defense at 3rd base and has some great arm strength there as well, suggesting he could very easily stick at the position. And he also has the ability to hit for power and steal a couple bases. In his 3 seasons as a Tar Heel, he hit 47 home runs and stole 44 bases, suggesting that he has a very interesting power-speed combination that could be very interesting as the Orioles and now Rays try to develop him further into a major league talent. Horvath also has an interesting mix on defense as he's been with Baltimore. He could be an above average third baseman, but he really needs to go ahead and get his arm accuracy in check, which is an interesting conundrum. You often don't see people be inaccurate with their throws, but he just hasn't had the best throw accuracy at third base, and that's caused the Orioles to try to shift him to second base just to go ahead and have some easier throws and not worry too much about that accuracy. But if you can get that under control, which is one of the easier things you're able to fix, is just throwing the ball a little more accurately. It's not like a pitcher trying to fix control. I think there is a very strong possibility he could stick at third base, and if he doesn't, a second baseman with his kind of power potential is definitely a valuable asset for a team like the Rays to use. He also has some solid plate discipline, which kind of works into the fact that he has a little bit of swing and miss in his game. So when he's not swinging at pitches, he does tend to walk a lot. So far in 2024 with high A Aberdeen, he has a 232 average, but a 328 on base, suggesting he's walking at almost 10% of his plate appearances, which is definitely very solid for someone in their first full year of minor league ball. Again, there is some swing and miss in that game, so he is going to have to work on that contact a little bit to be a little more reliable, but he's a very athletic and toolsy player, and his ability to go and be an above average player at most all other aspects of the game is something that is definitely appealing and definitely something that the Rays can tap into. They're one of the best developmental organizations in MLB, and because of that, Horvath is now in good hands to go ahead and potentially get a couple more tweaks that the Rays think can be a benefit to him and really break out. I wouldn't be shocked to see him rise up prospects lists. He started MLB Pipeline's 10th ranked Baltimore Orioles prospect. He'll probably fall a little bit, but with the Rays organization potentially making some tweaks, he could be a fast riser heading into 2025. The Rays must have really loved what the Orioles did in the 2023 MLB draft, as just 10 picks after Horvath, they selected Jackson Baumeister, and Baumeister, who was a draft-eligible sophomore last year out of Florida State, is now also heading to play his games potentially in the Trop or whatever stadium Tampa Bay builds in the immediate future. Baumeister is an intimidating 6'4", 224, and as the highest pitcher selected in the Mike Elias era in Baltimore, there's a lot of potential for him to be a very good player and someone that Orioles fans were very excited about. He entered the season ranked 17th on MLB Pipeline's rankings, and that will definitely change when he moves over to Tampa Bay and MLB Pipeline updates the first time this season. I think he will be higher than 17th in the Tampa Bay organization, but that's mostly due to the fact that he has a really nice fastball that can touch 98, and another 3 pitches and a curveball, a slider, and a changeup that all have some above average potential that if he can tweak them a little bit, could all be plus pitches. Right now his slider and changeup lag a little bit behind his curveball, but there is definitely the potential for him to break out and get one of those pitches working and be a serviceable starter for the Tampa Bay Rays. Baumeister's ability to stay in the rotation is somewhat tied to his changeup. If he can get that pitch working, gives him a great pitch against left-handed hitters, and it's something that can go ahead and separate him from being a middle or low leverage reliever, someone who could very easily be a middle of the rotation starter with a fourth pitch that can really catch hitters off guard. That's what he really needs to develop. I think he has the ability to go ahead and do that, especially with an organization like Tampa Bay known for developing. So he has the ability to go refine 1 or 2 of these pitches, maybe work on his slider a little bit more, which he only added in 2023, and get that changeup working a little bit better. And he could definitely be a nice third starter for the Rays that have a stacked rotation. You're looking at Taj Bradley, at Shane McClanahan next year. This is a very nice rotation that could very easily be a dominant force in 2025 or 2026 when Baumeister finally makes his debut. He's also put up some solid numbers so far in 2023, also with high A Aberdeen, a 1-3 record, but that doesn't reflect his 3.06 ERA and 91 strikeouts and 70 2/3 innings pitched, along with just 43 walks. He's doing a very good job of dominating pitchers at high A, and I wouldn't be shocked to see him end the year for the AA affiliate of the Tampa Bay Rays. He's been very good so far in the minor leagues, and it wouldn't shock me to see him be a quick riser and potentially even make his major league debut at the back end of 2025. The final player heading back to Tampa Bay is also from the 2023 draft class, the Orioles' 10th round pick, Matthew Etzel, who has the ability to be a plus defensive center fielder going forward with some really nice speed as well. He spent his first semester in college at Texas A&M, transferred to a community college for the next 2 years, and although it was expected that he could potentially be drafted after his sophomore year, he was not selected, and after transferring to Southern Mississippi, shown that he had the potential to go and be a serviceable major leaguer, potentially a 4th outfielder type, and as a lefty, that can definitely be valuable. So the Orioles decided to select him 301st overall, 10th round pick in the 2023 MLB draft, and signed for exactly slot value of $167,000. Etzel has a high baseball IQ and is known for being a contact-oriented hitter. He knows that his speed, which is a plus attribute of his best by far, is something he can use to his advantage, and he tries to focus on getting on base rather than hitting home runs. He does have some usable in-game power. It's not like he's going to be a 2 home run hitter in his entire career, but he does know that he's going to have more success hitting singles or turning singles into doubles than he will going and trying to hit for power. Obviously, you're seeing a lot of players like Steven Kwan needing to tap into that power a little bit. Etzel has the ability to do that, but right now he's working with a very dink and dunk kind of technique in the minor leagues, and it's working for him. He's able to get on base. He has a 363 on base percentage across high A and double A this year. That's 338 right now in double A after just 1 year in the minor leagues. So he's definitely understanding his approach, getting on base and finding a way to use his speed to his advantage to, again, turn singles into doubles, to steal bases. He's able to do that successfully, and that's a big draw to Etzel's character. This trade has a lot of moving parts and is a really interesting one because it's an in-division trade and that can always be risky. But before we go ahead and talk about anything more about these players, let's grade these trades and figure out exactly who won and who lost this deal. For the Baltimore Orioles, I'm going to give this an A-. I think the biggest issue with this for me, and at the time of me recording this video, we are not sure how much money the Orioles or the Tampa Bay Rays are going to keep in this deal. But what we do know is Zach Eflin has a ton of money locked up for next year. He has an $18 million contract. And although the Orioles have said that they're willing to finally take on some money, it is something to note that it's an $18 million contract, and we don't know exactly how much they're actually going to take on. So we'll see, but I think he fills an immediate need that the Orioles desperately needed to address, and that's part of the big appeal of this. Corbin Burnes and Grayson Rodriguez and Dean Kramer, great. You have 3 of your 4 pitchers that you can use in the postseason as a starter, but you still need one more. And I think he absolutely fills that role. A rotation of Burnes, Rodriguez, Kramer, Eflin is definitely a solid, serviceable rotation heading into October. And you can have someone like Albert Suarez and Cole Irvin as a long reliever if you need it come October. That is huge and something that is incredibly valuable. And with the addition of Sir Anthony Dominguez later this morning, the Orioles are really going all in, focusing on their weaknesses, and they also traded away from some relative strengths. They have a lot of position player depth, and with Baumeister kind of lagging behind a little bit some of the other prospects in terms of his development, only in single A right now, probably make the jump to double A while a lot of other players are kind of closer to the competitive window. I think this makes a lot of sense. The money is really the only hesitant thing for me, and as always, some in-division trades are kind of risky. I really like both the players that they traded away, which is also a little bit of a knock on them, but that's also a testament to the Tampa Bay Rays as well. The Rays, on the other hand, I think this trade gets an A+. I love this trade. We'll start off with Mac Horvath. He's one of my favorite prospects, and yes, he's had a little bit of a down year, but I think he's going to be able to turn that around. He's only in his first full season of affiliated ball, so he has a lot of time to go, develop, refine what he needs to do to be a plus major leaguer, a third baseman who could potentially hit for 20, 25 home runs, steal 30 bases at the major league level. That's incredibly valuable for a team. And for a team like the Rays, he kind of fits what he wants to do. He's a solid defender, but he has some really interesting tools and a lot of athleticism and a lot of strength that the Rays will go and mold and develop exactly how they want. Baumeister is another player that I think the Rays can tap into. The Rays do a great job of developing pitchers, and Baumeister has the tools. He just needs to figure out how to use them. And I think once he figures out how to use them, he will be a very good piece for the Tampa Bay Rays going forward. And Etzel, I think, is probably a ceiling of a 4th outfielder type. Think of Dairon Blanco right now with the Kansas City Royals. He'll play every once in a while and steal some bags. I think that's what he most likely fits in, with a little more playing time and a little more ability to get on base and actually play maybe 30 to 45% of the time as a short side platoon bat. That's valuable to have someone who you can reliably count on coming off the bench to steal some bases in the 8th inning, the 7th inning, the 9th inning, to replace as the ghost runner in extra innings. That's valuable. And I think the Rays made out very well with 3 players they can mold, develop, and shape in the way the Rays love to do, and that is a beautiful thing for a team. They're going to be continuing to shop players away, but I think this is a great start for them in 2024. Thank you again for watching to this end of the video. I'll have trade analysis for almost every trade happening at the 2024 trade deadline, so please go ahead and let me know what you think in the comments, who won this deal, and subscribe if you want to see more content like this, more baseball stories, or other great content from other baseball creators out there as well. Without further ado, I will see you in the next video.